Go here. Wanted to just check out what's going on Spreaker for a minute. Say what's up to all you Spreaker addicts. Peace on earth. It's about that time of year when I start to shift from the serious to the hilarious. What do I got? 14 minutes on air they give me per episode. So I'm going to break down two little things real quick. It's now the 9th of December 2018. If someone wants to get free ebooks, I got 2 out today. I got the metaphysics. I got the metaphysics of monotheism. And Meditation and Geometry for the Youth are both free ebooks right now. Metaphysics of Monotheism, excuse my lisp, that'll be free for a few days. But you better get your free Meditation for the Youth today if you want it. That one person that's probably listening live or today. So, I'm here to talk about Santa Claus syndrome, which actually is a consternation and appendage of religion. And I write about religion in Metaphysics of Monotheism, specifically, of course, monotheism, as opposed to some other religions and or forms of spirituality, which really, monotheism breaks the spiritual golden rule. And let's just start there, where, you can't tell someone what to do, how to perceive a thing. And monotheism has never meant the worship of one God. When put into practice, monotheism means the one way to perceive God. Because actually, in point of fact, all 3 major forms of monotheism before their multiple formations and variations, the 3 forms of monotheism worship the same God. They just insist that this God is perceived differently. Right? So, the metaphysics of monotheism explores monotheism and its no doubt downgrade of human consciousness. And now to fast forward a couple thousand years, we have Santa Claus syndrome. And this is due to the fact that people don't necessarily celebrate religious and spiritual allegories anymore with any feeling, with any embodiment whatsoever. And if anyone does nowadays, very few do. And it's arguable there are certainly in the white Western world a lot of microcultures that have truly spiritual practices and not necessarily monotheistic. And the Santa Claus story is actually the few religious stories that people celebrate nowadays, other than the occasional spiritual ideologies that are shared. Certainly, let's not say that, even religion couldn't eliminate all the spiritual profundity therein. And metaphysics too. There's even good ideas that are honorable. So the Santa Claus story is actually one of, if not the only, slightly religious story that people celebrate now. And it is actually the most celebrated story during the most influential period of people's lives. And most people, including myself, like, hey, January, February, certain time periods, certain ages, 1 or 2 Christmases of a kid's life, parents have to say, like, yeah, just chill out on Santa Claus. It's going to be 10 more months. and so Santa Claus is, and Christmas, but mainly, certainly it's not, the embodiment of the Christmas holiday is not due to the celebration of the birth of Jesus. It's due to the celebration of the coming of Santa. And, let's not parse all the, similarities between Santa and God and Jesus with Rudolph, say, and all these allegorical similarities between the traditional religious story of Jesus' birth and the Christmas story that Santa embodies. That's a whole separate thing. What I get into in my book, A Holiday Hazing, Santa Claus Syndrome, is the results of the predicament of lying to children in this manner. And I say lying because there's certain mythology that still exists that we don't have to admit to lying. The Santa Claus lie is such a big lie that parents, friends, authoritarian figures in a child's life, they have to admit ultimately that they were lying. And of course, this is a hazing. And that's why I call my book a holiday hazing. Because the process of lying to a kid and building up the lie with every friend, family member, and stranger to the point where every base is covered and every question has an answer that everyone pretty much knows, or at least has a parallel, little anecdote flavor to their answer. Ultimately, the child realizes that everyone lied to them. Their parents, their friends, their older siblings, their other family members. And for Santa's sake, even the weatherman is on TV lying Christmas Eve about how NORAD is tracking them. So the greatest militaristic institution in the country, perhaps in the world, is taking part in the lie. You can't make this stuff up. Which, getting into the history of the Santa story, the reason NORAD is even involved in the lie goes that a certain mall in Colorado gave out the wrong number, or the newspaper printed the wrong number, and children, instead of calling Santa, which the number said they could do so by this phone number, they instead called NORAD. And the station commander, which was in Colorado, then under a different name, whatever it was, Continental Protection something, and they went along with the lie. Of course, how can you not? How could they not? Even the commander of the base at NORAD had a bunch of children calling asking about Santa, and what did he say? Well, yeah, we're tracking him, and yeah, or this is Santa, and it grew from there that they were involved in the lie. So what's the process of lying to children and then revealing that everyone lied? How does that influence a child's perspective? Well, let's take a look at the Rudolph story. Rudolph is the embodiment of the outsider, and the "you're too young, you're too little" parallels that children hear all the time. And so for me and for most children, Rudolph, if not Santa, Rudolph is the favorite character. Santa often secondarily to Rudolph. And it's because he goes from reject to architect. He goes from the most rejected of the bunch to being the leader because of why he was rejected. That's the reason he becomes the leader. And then, what do we find out? Oh no, that's a lie. That doesn't really happen. No one really is that kind that they're going to travel around the world and give every child a gift. And you know what? Reject remains the reject because of his big funny nose. So that's part of the process where we actually end up sniping a sense of magic, right? People insist that they lie to children to keep and even build a sense of magic in the young person, when in fact it is the magical snipe of all snipes. I like to suggest that real magical practice should be shared with children, not this bogus Coca-Cola institutional greedy economical booster of a magic tradition. This is bogus magic, right? And actually, the Santa story was even illegal in the United States for a time period. Not because it was bogus, not because it was pagan, but because it took away from the celebration of Jesus. And so, call that sense of monothematic celebration ridiculous, but that's what it was. And the Santa story, since it was equated in the United States with Macy's and Coca-Cola, has been part of a real co-opting of the celebration of Jesus and the lights, and even esoterically celebrating a time period of meditation with family in the quiet, darkest time of the year, when the only thing green around is the evergreen tree, and you're awaiting the sun to return, and you're meditating in quiet. Instead, we're let's shop. So I got 45 seconds left. I hope that was provocative enough for your ham and turkey dinner. I hope you bring it up, share it with friends. Check out my book, A Holiday Hazing, Santa Claus Syndrome, and don't sleep on my other writings. The Complete Patriot's Guide to Oligarchical Collectivism is as pertinent as now as when I wrote it, as my first book. So, peace on earth, for real though, not like that Santa jibe. Peace.